What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 5 of the MindTalks podcast. Today, I got on my boy, my training partner, Preston. Just got done with some hard sparring. Got some good rounds in. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was pretty good. We got some good shots in. Definitely rang each other a couple good times. I've been feeling like a machine since I started this diet. So the doctor took 14 vials of my blood and then told me all my levels of shit. And I was like, all right. So I'm on this detox thing where I take 2 shakes a day with a bunch of pills, so many pills. And then I am dairy free, gluten free. I can't have any highly refined oils, low on fats, stuff like that. And literally obviously when you train jujitsu, you're gonna have injuries here and there, small ones. But the inflammation in my body's so down that when I do my ice baths and do all that, it goes away instantly. I just feel so good now.
Yeah, diet. I work at a grocery store, and I saw there was these 2 guys, and they were both in the motorized wheelchairs, and they're super heavy, and one has a basket full of 2-liter pops, and then the other one has it full of pizza rolls. And it's like, dude, you're literally killing yourself. You're already pushing 4 bills, and you're in a motorized wheelchair, and not making fun of them because they're in the wheelchair, but it's you could still maximize your health even if you're at a disadvantage, and it's crazy to me.
It blows my mind because I'll see a Domino's commercial, I'm like, that shit looks so good, and then I just think, I'm like, that's literally poison. You're shoving poison into your body, and you don't even realize how shitty it makes you feel until you stop. And don't get me wrong, the first couple of days that I was on this diet, I ate relatively good before, but now I'm super clean and super focused. But as soon as I was on it, I was like, I feel so good. I don't wake up because before I'd wake up after overeating and eating a bunch of shit, and I would just feel I just felt slow, and everything I did, I had to really try, and now I'm just floating.
Yeah, and it makes everything else easier too. The ice baths that we both do,
those are literally magic. People are like, fucking ice bath. I'm like, dude, I only take ice showers. I take a cold bath pretty much every night after a workout, and afterwards, it's not even good for your physical self, it's also good for your mental health. It's an energy boost.
It's not only is it an energy boost, but it's literally a way to train that mental toughness. If you could stay in that ice bath for 3 minutes, get control of your breath, get your heart rate down, get that panic breathing down, you won. That's a win for you for the day. And it immediately it makes decision making easier, and it also makes if you're at work and there's an hour left and you just can't get through it, you got that push. You're sparring and you just got cracked and there's 30 seconds left, you got that push, it, and it's crazy that people don't know it because people aren't educated on it, and that's why I started this podcast, was to educate people on it. And so what are your experiences with that? What has changed for you since you started taking your body seriously?
Dude, literally everything. And especially everyone thinks oh, I don't want to work out because I just don't feel like it. And a huge thing is you're not going to get motivated to do action. You're going to do the action, and then you're going to get motivated to keep going. You have to bring yourself out of it. Don't get me wrong, there's days where I'm I don't want to train. Straight up. I would rather just veg out on the couch. But as soon as I do that first mile or whatever, then I'm now I get to rock my whole workout, and the rest of my day is just so much better.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, is you need action for motivation, because motivation isn't a thing. You have to be determined. You can't be motivated, because you're going to wake up and not want to train. You're going to wake up and not going to go to work. But having that determination of wanting to be the best, wanting to be that high level, or just wanting to have a good day, you need that determination to get motivated.
Yeah, it's not even huge things too, water, for example. I drank no water, not even a year ago, and then I started drinking water, and I was this is a game changer. It's small things. You don't have to change your whole life. Obviously right now I'm in a big thing where I'm dairy, gluten free, oil, highly refined oils I don't have, which are hard to avoid. But it's people think you have to do that overnight, and you really don't. It's small things where you're just all right, no more Doritos, no more Cheetos, no more soda. Soda blows my mind that people still have soda. That is so It's not even good. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I will never drink a Coke and go, that was good. Like, it's
Yeah.
disgusting.
it's
Like, I like a
it's
Dr. Pepper or Sprite like every like 6 months.
yeah.
But other than that, I really don't enjoy it. And like once you quit those things, you'll realize like you don't enjoy it. Like if I go back to eating dairy, which I don't plan to, like obviously I'll cheat once in a while, but when I do, I guarantee my body's gonna be like, what the fuck are you
Well,
doing?
that's the thing too, is once you get so accustomed to like the ice baths or to the water, to the healthy food, it's like once you go back to those negative things, your body realizes like, oh, they're negative, like you can't be doing this. Or that's why it becomes a once, like a once every while thing, because if you're doing the bad things and your body gets accustomed to that, then it's going to be hard to do those good things.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
your body adapts to such crazy things, and not always in the best way. Like if you're eating like shit, obviously your body's gonna adapt to handle it
Yeah.
and try to get the nutrients that it needs. But it's just not, and it's not even like people like, I don't want to like say it's like everyone's fault. Like you're miseducated. We are misinformed. Like we're told stuff is good. Like school lunches
Yeah.
are horrible, and kids
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, this is good." Who decided to give us chocolate milk with every meal? That's so
Yeah.
whack. And I
Yeah.
remember like leaving track practice after a hard lift, and the coaches would be like, "Go get a chocolate milk. It's good for you."
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is like, granted, there's much worse things to have, but it's like you're miseducating and misinforming all these kids, and now they're going to take these practices and keep going with them." Like I got way more injured in all my years of high school lifting and stuff like that than I did outside doing my own education.
And it goes down to that conditioning too. Like if you grew up in a household where your parents, when you're 4 or 5 years old and your parents are having a Coke with every dinner, well, then what are you going to do? With every
Yeah,
dinner, you're going to have a Coke. And then 20
literally.
years, when you're living by yourself, you're going to be having a Coke with every dinner because that's just what you know. And you get conditioned to do things that you don't even realize.
Yeah, it blows my mind. There was kids in school that would literally crack a Coke every class.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fucking crazy to me. And at the school store, you go after school and get cookies and all these candy and things. And like I bought the stuff too. I was like, what is right here? Like I didn't start really taking my health serious until after high school. And I was like, I'm tired of feeling like shit all the time. So I took it serious. I cut things out. I realized like, oh, like I started reading labels. Like it's so hard for people to like read labels, and like still now sometimes I'm like, I don't know what that is. But like just starting small and like looking things up, and the more you educate yourself, the more you're like, this is great. But like I get people now, what drives me nuts, and we talked about this before, when people are like, oh dude, you're young, like why would you worry about it now? It's like, because now if you don't do it now, you're not going to do it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you always hear people say like, oh, I wish I started stretching 20 years ago.
Literally.
Like I wish I started taking it serious when I was 16, because then now I'd be now I feel better. It's like, so no, don't, just because you're young doesn't mean you can't take it seriously. That's the time to do it.
Yeah, because then when you're 40, you're going to be able to still train. Like my goal is obviously to train till I literally die.
Yeah.
Like, and you can do it if you take it seriously and you're really dedicated and you have that commitment and discipline. And discipline was huge, even with everything, not just dieting, but also with stuff like meditation, sleep, your water, everything. Everything comes down to discipline. Like Jocko said, like discipline will set you free.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like, that makes no sense. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense because you had no discipline. like it's just one of those things. And once you start taking it seriously, like it'll really change everything.
That quote, discipline is freedom. It's because you're a slave to the system. It's easy to fall into that trap, that slavery of waking up at 7 o'clock, going to work, coming home, eating, going to sleep, waking up, going to work, coming home, eating. It's that same. So if you have that discipline to do your meditations every morning, take your cold plunge at night, every night, do your, eat healthy, whatever it is. If you train jujitsu 3 times a week, whatever your number is, if you have that discipline, it equals that freedom to be able to break out of that system and be able to be free and be your own person and write the life that you want.
Yeah, it's huge. And like I think in July of last year I was like 155 pounds. Now I'm 125. And like I think that's a pretty significant amount of weight for how low I was, but yeah. I was just chubby, and like I was like, you know what, I'm gonna change this. And I took jiu-jitsu hard, and I was serious about it, and it really changes everything. And once you get started, you don't want to stop. It's like it becomes this almost obsession of just every day. Like I want to be a better person, even if it's not a hard training day. It's like I'm gonna make myself better by breathing exercises or stretching. And stretching is huge. I love stretching, and it may, dude, especially with jujitsu, like
Yeah.
it makes everything so much easier. Like your guard dexterity and everything is just so much better, and people don't take it seriously until it's too late.
And even not in jiu-jitsu, and if you're just working, and if you sit at a desk and sitting for 8 hours a day, like that is so bad for people. And if they just did a 15-minute stretch every night and you wake up and you feel good, you feel light, it makes those days so much better. It makes your life, you move easier. It's crazy.
It's so big. But I mean, yeah, it really boils down to all the little things, and then once they add up, it's just huge.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll stretch, and it won't even be that long. Like people think it's like this huge, like I'm constantly on my grind. It's not. Like I still enjoy, like I enjoy every day. All those things. I just like sometimes I don't want to stretch, but I still do it, and then afterwards I feel great.
Yeah.
And it's just like and it makes recovery so much better. Like and I know so many people that train hard but just don't care about recovery. And I'm like, and Michael Chandler said, he was like, yeah, my next workout is only as good as my last recovery was.
Yeah.
And that's huge, dude. I didn't take it seriously until I had my surgery. So
everything we're doing is for longevity in life. You don't want to be 50 and not be able to walk or not be able to bend down and tie your shoes. So seriously. It's, like Tim Welch, what he always says is it's like, I'm going to add something to my routine if it makes me feel 0.5% better. It's not about significant increases. It's about, you might not see those results right now, but in 20 years, in 10 years, if you see those results, then what you were doing now is worth it. So why don't we talk about your shoulder actually, and how you've sort of dealt with that, what happened?
Yeah, so it was like in the first couple months of jiu-jitsu for me. So I started jiu-jitsu July 24th or 25th of last year. And I immediately jumped into it like heavy. Like I've always been the guy that's like last on the mats, just because I was like, I'm going to take, like if I'm going to pay and take this seriously, I'm going to be there, like training hard always. But I didn't take care of recovery or anything like that. But when it originally happened, I got thrown. And when he did the throw, I just went face first and put my hands out. And I'll do it on this one. I just went like that. And I tore my labrum, which really sucked. And like as soon as it happened, I put my arm up and it was like shaking and I couldn't keep it still. And I was like, this fucking hurts. And I finished the roll, and Lee actually watched it happen. He was like, you good? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Finished the roll, kept going. And I didn't go to the doctor or anything. And I knew it was messed up, and I knew, but I was like, I don't care. It'll go away, until my neck started to kill me. When I looked down and when I looked straight up, it was just hurt super bad. So then I went to the doctor, had an MRI, and he was like, yeah, you tore your labrum, and then fluid went through and created a cyst, and the cyst pushes on all the nerves to my neck. So I was like, all right, so let's get the surgery done. And he was like, 3 months and you'll be 100%. And I was like, best news ever, whatever, like sidelined for 3 months, I don't mind. So then COVID came around, surgery got pushed back farther, so a couple months off jiu-jitsu extra, and then I finally got my surgery, and then I started training.
When did you get the surgery?
I want to say March or April, somewhere around there. And then I took about 2 months off, and then I started flow rolling with high level belts that obviously like new positions, knew not where to push, where to not. So I roll with Chris a ton, because that dude's just a wizard.
Chris is a purple belt that we train with. He's super high level purple belt. Yeah, really crazy. Good. Yeah,
So I trained with him a ton, just because I trusted him. And then now I'm almost 100%. Obviously, I can't get like Kimura or key locked or anything like that, any shoulder locks on it. But here within 3 to 4 months, I plan to compete again. And then within about a year, I want to step in and fight. So, but yeah, it's definitely, for someone like me who loves to work out all the time and work out hard, it was hard to to have to sit
for
there
sure.
and be sidelined. And a big thing too is like when I was in my sling, I came to every class. I didn't miss a class. I sat on the bench and I watched class because I was like, it's obviously jiu-jitsu is an individual sport, but you have a team, and I was like, I'm a part of this team. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna retain this knowledge so that way when I do step on the mats, I can be even better.
Yeah.
So even though you can't train hard, train mentally. Do what you can, and that's what I took away too. Is I was like, when you're injured, you don't have to go 100%, but you need to put in the effort that you can. So.
Yeah, mental reps it's so important. It's I was reading somewhere, and to be honest, I don't know if it's true or not. But they were saying how your brain can't tell the difference between a physical rep and a mental rep. But since I've like I said, I don't know if that's 100% true or not. But since that though, every time with a technique, I always try to think about it, and it helps it break it down when you do it step by step in your head. And if you do 50 reps of it in your head, that'll translate onto the mat because you'll automatically be like GSP says, he was saying in the Joe Rogan podcast, how like you have to train that response to where, because in a fight or in a match, you're not really thinking, you're reacting. So you have to train that reaction to know that move. And it's mental reps are super important. And especially if you're hurt, go to that class, go watch the class, watch techniques, watch YouTube instructionals, watch whatever you can. If it's not too bad, maybe just drill, skip rolling, and you'll still see improvement, or even work on other things. If you're hurt, work on those ice baths, work on those meditations, work on that stretching, work on that water, do all those things. And you'll start to see progression because you can't focus on the negative. You got to focus on that positive. You got to focus on ways to improve when you're set back. And, every setback is a setup for a comeback. And I believe in that. And when you get set back, you come back 5 times harder. So always make sure you're improving.
Yeah, it's huge. It's just the small things. And mental reps are also big. Like, I'm not a huge person that believes in like manifestation or anything, but I mean, doing the like before a big tournament, just like imagining yourself in there and what you're gonna do and all that is huge, and it helps your mindset so much. Like my first tournament, my mindset going in was I was literally laying in bed before the night before, like, what if I lose every single match? What if I just get dominated? The next day I went in and lost every single match.
Yeah.
I got dominated and destroyed. Granted, the dudes that I was going against were a lot higher level than me at the time, but I don't like to be like, oh, well, I lost because they had more experience.
Yeah,
No,
and you have to have the mentality too, like just because you lost every match, like you learn from that experience.
Oh, yeah, I learned huge. As soon as I came back, I was like, I learned this, and this. And my biggest takeaway was like, my arms are always out. I got arm barred like so many times. Mm-hmm. So that elevated my game. And even if someone's like, oh, I don't want to compete at a high level, if you're in jiu-jitsu, like, do those tournaments. Like, you don't have to take them. Like, I mean, obviously don't be like, oh, well, I'm not going to try very hard because I don't care. Like, try, but do them even if you don't want to be a high level athlete, because it'll make your jiu-jitsu so much better.
Yeah. And train with the high level. Don't be scared of the higher level belts in your school. Don't be scared to ask questions. Ask questions. Train. If you're a white belt, train with your black belt professor or your brown belt coach or your anybody in there who's higher than you, and ask questions. And something that I've been focusing on lately as I have a competition coming up is starting rolls in bad positions. So I'll set a roll and I'll tell him to get inside control, or I'll tell a roll, and there's this one wrestler that we train with, I'll tell her to get on my side, get on my back, whatever. And, constantly improving those negative areas is what makes you well-rounded in life, not just jiu-jitsu, and that's an important thing to think about too.
Yeah. And with the rolls, like, there's some roles where I'm like, I want to make sure I roll with these guys just because it's so fun. But then there's also the roles where I'm like, I'm not necessarily super excited to jump into a role with them, but I know I need to because those are the roles that I struggle with. Like a guy who can hold me in his side control. Like, obviously, like, it sucks, but it's something that you just got to do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there's going to be a time where you're in a tournament or you're in a worst case real life situation where somebody's just holding you in side control and pounding your face in, and you don't train it because it makes you feel uncomfortable. Which, a good quote is like, whatever threatens your identity, you're going to avoid it. So like, So like if you go in a hard role and your identity is, oh, no one's got anything on me, I'm invincible,
Mm-hmm.
and then that dude smashes you, that messes with your identity, so you're gonna avoid that.
Yeah.
So getting smashed and getting humbled is like, it's almost the best. You know what I mean? Like obviously it feels good to do good in a role, but
and
like,
you still want to win, you know?
yeah,
You still,
yeah. You always have that competitive edge, but like when someone smashes you, you're like, all right, just a subtle reminder of like, I'm not the shit. I'm not a
Yeah.
prodigy like I could possibly make myself out to be. But I mean, there's some guys, like when a new guy comes into the gym, they're like, I have to roll with him. Like I'm gonna make sure I assert my dominance.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not what it's about. But you know, like a lot of people don't realize, like, okay, this is where the LeBron James thing comes in. So LeBron James was talking about Kobe Covington, and then he said, like, everyone talks this and that until they get in there, and then they shit their pants or whatever. And then I think it was his manager or something. Don't quote me on that. But somebody said something about Kobe doesn't want the smoke because LeBron's so big and tall.
It's like,
you don't realize, like for us, Javi talked about it, like you don't know what violence is really like.
no.
Like he doesn't know.
Somebody who's been training jiu-jitsu for a year and a half would kill LeBron James.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, granted, like he's going to do way better than the average person who's never trained.
Because he is 6'10", 250 pounds.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like you're in deep water and you don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
You literally don't know what you're doing. You walk into submissions when you first start. And even now, like I'll walk into submissions with high level belts.
Yeah.
They'll just set me up into it. And it would be the same thing. And even if him and Colby did, like, which they never would, but if they fought, Colby would literally just shoot a double leg. He's an amazing wrestler.
Yeah.
Take him down. Like I don't care that Colby doesn't weigh as much. He's debatably the number one welterweight in the world.
Yeah.
He would destroy him.
And it's like LeBron wasn't a wrestler. LeBron's a basketball player. And look at the size of Tyron Woodley and their last fight Saturday. Like if Colby could hold down somebody the size of Tyron Woodley for 5 rounds, for 20, I mean, the round ended with like a few minutes left. So we'll say 20 minutes, just holding him down, getting him down every time, clinch work, wrestling. You don't think he'll be able to do that to LeBron? Like Tyron Woodley's legs are like this thick. And it's crazy.
It's tree trunks. I don't know. It's just like, it's almost like I have respect for any high level athlete, obviously. Like every basketball player, every football player, every fighter, I'm like, respect, because I know the dedication and sacrifice it takes to get to that level. But it's almost like disrespectful for him to say stuff like that about our sport, because he's like, that would be like us being like, oh, I got the shape and body for a basketball player, so I can just walk in there. That's not what it is.
It's like Colby Covington saying he could beat LeBron in a one-on-one just because he's athletic. Like,
it's insane. Like you just, and it happens with a lot of people where they're like, they know nothing about the sport or anything like that, and then they're like, oh well, I can do that. It's a whole different world, and it's just miseducation. You just don't know what you're talking about. It would be like me, like rolling with a brown belt and then him doing something at the end of the roll, me being like, hey, when you do that, make sure you do this, something like that. Like,
like you can't give a higher belt tips because it's an experience level.
Yeah.
Like Colby's been wrestling since he was like 5 years old. You don't think he'll be able to hold LeBron down, who hasn't wrestled? It's mind blowing.
Yeah, it would be almost effortless. Like with legs that long, it would be insane. But yeah, I don't know. I just saw it and I was like, it was just mind-boggling to me that someone could truly believe that LeBron could destroy Colby Covington in a fight. Some guy who literally just dominated Tyron Woodley and finished him, broke his rib. And I saw somebody else say something stupid. They were like, all the Rufus Sport guys are like pulling out these stupid injuries because Pettis also like broke his rib against Dustin a couple years ago. And you're just like, that's just stupid stuff to say. Like Rufus Sport is still a top gym. It's still a great place.
Who do you think they're going to give Colby next?
It has to be Masvidal or Leon. But I don't know. I mean, I guess they could make him wait and then get the next Usman shot. But I really think.
Usman or Burns?
Yeah. Go Burns.
Nah.
Dude, I don't know how you don't like Burns. He's so fun.
Nah, I think Colby destroys Usman in a rematch. And
I think so. But it was like, I don't even know why he didn't clinch at all. Like, because I get like Usman is great against the fence as well, but if you clinch and sort of take the wind out of his sails, hit some knees to the body,
yeah,
and then Usman gets a little more tired because Colby doesn't get tired.
Yeah,
he
no.
doesn't. He's a machine.
It's literally like they're the same fighter. It's so I don't think in the history of the UFC or MMA in general, there's been two fighters so similar in style. Like it's crazy.
They could literally both be champ. Like if they fight 10 times, like 5 out of 5 times the other person's gonna it would the welterweight division is just crazy right now.
Yeah. I guess at this point we'll just start talking about the whole card. We'll get into the card.
Yeah, the card Saturday was crazy for a fight night. That was the greatest fight night I've ever seen.
The prelims were crazy. There was, I believe, I'll look it up. I believe it was 5 out of 7 finishes on the prelim cards. I'll confirm that in 1 second.
Yeah, and I was late because like I was like I'll head over at like 5 because I was coming here and then we're gonna go watch the main card at some of the dudes' house from the gym, and they started earlier than I thought. So he texted me. He's like, "Oh, he's got KO power." I was like,
"Talking about Tyson."
Yeah, I was like, "What's he talking about?" And then I realized the card started. I was like, "Shit!" So I drove over quick, but they were crazy, like so good.
6 out of 8 prelim fights were a finish, which is crazy.
They were good finishes.
They were great finishes.
Some good submissions.
A lot of round 1 finishes. There was a round 1 submission by Myra Silva. There was another round 1 submission by Derek Minner. Round 1 KO by Randy Costa, who put on a performance with a great knockout.
That was a head kick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was just a beautiful read.
I think that was it, yeah.
Just to be able to say, okay, he's slipping to the outside when I throw this, and then throw the high kick after.
Yeah.
I was like Kevin Lee when he knocked out Gregory Gillespie.
Yeah. Tyson Nam put on a great performance too. Super tight guards, a lot of power. KO'd Jerome Rivera. Who else? What is it?
What was that?
Andre Ewell put on a great performance. And that fight was a sick fight. That was 1 out of the 2 decisions in the prelims, and it was a great fight. I'd go rewatch it.
What was our girls' fight?
Jessica Rose Clark.
Yeah, that's my girl now.
3rd round knockout, just destroyed this girl.
Chris Tyone's never gonna ref again.
Yeah, no, that Mario Yamasaki spirit lives on in Chris Tyone.
They just shouldn't have started the fight again. Like it was as simple as that, but he just did, and it was like. It just blew my mind. Like I was like, all right, it's over. And then they saw it wasn't illegal. I was like, all right, she won by TKO. Then he walks over. He's like, you good to fight? Her nose is like on the side of her face, like shattered, split, and she's like, yeah, I'm good to fight. I was like, you're what? Why? Like, there's no reason.
Yeah.
And then she literally just got dominated.
The round started, and then she got kneed again like 3 times.
Yeah,
and then
it was just brutal.
Yeah, and then he let it go for like an extra minute when I think Jessica was in mount. I want to say mount. I know she was on top, maybe like a top half guard or something, but just beating her against the cage. It's like, all right, you gotta stop.
My boy texted me later, and he was like, yo, whose blood is that in the cage? Because he only watched the main card. And I was like, you'll have to watch the fight. It was crazy. But the knee was good. As soon as she hit it, I was like, illegal. But then they showed it, and she was literally this far off the ground.
Yeah, and even if it was illegal, it's not like it wasn't an intentional illegal knee. She was just throwing a combo, and at the end was a knee, and she dropped her with the punch before.
Yeah, she initiated the knee before she even started dropping down. She can't be mad, but
then the main card was sick too.
So good.
Kevin Holland versus Darren Stewart. Kevin Holland took it in a decision, which it could have gone either way, I think.
He wants to run that one back.
Darren Stewart put on a great striking performance. Kevin Holland, great performance too. Moving into the Mackenzie Dern fight, round 1 submission. What else can you expect?
Well, she ran to Marcos before she went in. She was like, I'm not going to initiate. I'm not going to go to the ground fighting. I just know I can't. Mackenzie Dern throws a head kick, slips and falls to her back. And and Marcos runs into it.
Straight into like a daily.
I was like, why would you go?
Or, single leg X.
Yeah, I was like, why would you jump into that? I thought she was going to, when she was in mount, and took the arm up and then wrapped her leg around, I thought she was going to go.
Yeah.
And I was like, this will be the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then she went to armbar. It was still beautiful.
Yeah, it was great performance. And then Johnny Walker, Ryan Spann in a bar fight. It was a round 1 KO on Johnny Walker. Ryan Spann looked like he got Walker hurt, got him pushed up against the cage. Spann looked good, and then he shot a takedown, and then Johnny Walker just finished it with strikes. It was such a weird.
Yeah, because Spann was shooting that takedown, and he literally just brought the elbows down. But I don't know, Johnny Walker's like an incredible athlete, but as far as like staying composed and being an intelligent fighter throughout a 15-minute period, that's going to be a hard thing to train him for.
Yeah, people were talking so much about him when he entered. He knocked a few guys out, and then it was, oh, he's going to beat John Jones and stuff. And then he got knocked out twice in a row. Went over to TriStar. Now he left TriStar, went over to SBG, and I mean he won, but it wasn't a good showing. So we'll see what they give him next. We'll see what happens. Moving on, Khamzat Chimaev versus Gerald Meerschaert. There's not much to say about that one.
That was the Dan Hardy breakdown, because he'll break them down before and then afterwards he'll break down the card and talk about good fights. But he just broke down like Khamzat's like footwork to circle him out, and it was just like so high level. I think that dude is gonna really take the middleweight and welterweight division by storm.
And we'll see too. He really hasn't faced I mean, Gerald's a seasoned vet. He's been around for.
Is he ranked?
No,
okay.
They're both in rank, but he's been around for a while. He has 45 fights. He's 31-14. So, but he hasn't faced somebody that's been at that high level, like a Damian Maia, who we're probably going to see him next fight against, I assume. So we're going to have to see how he does against those guys. I don't know how he's going to do against those guys. My guess is pretty good. He seems pretty legit, but we're going to have to see. Then the draw, Cowboy versus Nico Price.
I saw some people kind of getting mad at that one, but I thought it was a draw as well.
Yeah.
I think hypothetically you might be able to give Cowboy the second round depending how you score rounds. But I gave the first round to Nico, but the point was deducted, so it's a 9-9. And then I gave the second round to Nico, third round to Cowboy.
Yeah, in the heat of the moment, I gave it to Cowboy. I'm also biased because
I was so biased. I was like, come on, we can give him that round for sure.
But ended up being a draw. Dana White said post-fight, he was saying how they're going to have a talk, which I'm not looking forward to, and I'm not even Donald Cerrone. It's
part of me is like, it would be smart to retire.
Yeah.
Then the other part of me is like, Nico Price is legit.
Yeah.
So to go 3 rounds with him and he took some damage, but like you look at his face after, he didn't wear a lot of it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the punches are kind of off his gloves, smacking him in the head, or he rolls with them pretty good. Except the first round.
The first
round he takes so much.
Donald's a slow starter.
Yeah, which really sucks.
He likes to catch that beating to wake him up a bit before he starts. But yeah, so we'll see what's next for Donald. I don't know because Nico was unranked, so it's like how more unranked can you get than Nico Price, and it'd still be a good fight for Cowboy.
Who's number 15th in that division?
That's welterweight.
Yeah. Because I know he fought Vincent Luque again. I think that was his last fight. And they had a war. Because Vincent Luque is legit. I remember when he fought Wonder Boy.
Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, that's a hard 15
and then
to crack into.
14th is Pettis. 13th's Nate Diaz. 12th's Jeff Neal.
Yeah, that's it.
And 11th's Magny.
Most divisions are stacked now. But
yeah,
I mean, Nico Price, he's pretty well known. And he's pretty well known as being legit. He's got, granted, he goes kind of win-loss, kind of like that. But as far as being a real threat in the cage, he's definitely legit. So I thought it was a scary fight for Donald. But he proved to be better. He was slipping so good.
Yeah, he was. He was trying to fire that leg kick up, or the head kick up, but it just kept getting blocked.
Yeah, he landed a good one towards the end of round 3
when they were on that cage and they broke off the cage.
It wasn't necessarily it was more like neck than anything, But it was still a good one. I would love to see him get another head kick KO and then be like, all right, peace.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I want like a gloves left in the octagon retirement from Donald. I don't, it's he's gonna be a Hall of Famer, I think, 100%. So
has to be.
Yeah, you have to have a good farewell. Maybe one more good retirement fight with a big name.
If he went back down to 55 and fought someone not in the top 5, that would be good.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Or like not Dan Hooker, Donald Cerrone, Paul Felder retirement fight would be.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Would be sick. Yeah.
But I mean, you look at his resume in his like last 5, he had Justin Gaethje, Tony, McGregor, Anthony Pettis, Nico.
Yeah, like those aren't losses where it's like, come on.
Especially like Tony, Justin Gaethje, and McGregor. Those are 3 guys that can be a champion on any given day.
And he probably arguably got robbed in that Pettis fight.
Oh, I definitely scored it for Pettis.
It could have gone. You mean Cowboy?
Yeah.
It could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I think that's actually. I mean, Felder cuts a lot of weight to get to 55. Yeah. He's a massive man. I think Cowboy versus Felder in a double retirement fight would be a sick.
Or that could be a fight at 65.
Or yeah.
I pray we get a 65 division. I don't understand why we don't.
Yeah.
Dana White's like, nah, that's too many belts. How's that too many belts? You get and hypothetically, he wants to get rid of the 25 division.
Yeah.
If you get rid of 25 and then add a 65, and then you could have like another double champ.
I think Gilbert would probably be a good 65 champ.
Dude, you would get so many guys at 65. You get Felder, probably like every person that had like that jumps between welterweight and lightweight. I mean, I think that would be a perfect spot for Kevin Lee.
Or even Colby. You could see, I mean.
Yeah, because he doesn't cut like any weight.
Covington's a natural 170, 175, right? Or 170.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Whatever, he's either 70 or 75, but he's a natural welterweight. And if he cuts like no weight. So if he cut a little bit of weight to 65, I think he could run that division. But I also think he could run the welterweight division.
Yeah, he's insane. I think Tyron might move up to middleweight. Chael Sonnen talked about it. He was like, now he needs to come out and say I've been drained my whole career and that's why I'm now a middleweight. And I was like, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but
yeah, but it's like if you just got held down by somebody who's naturally 175 pounds, it's that's like fair.
But I mean,
it is 170.
The middleweight isn't full of grapplers like welterweight is. Like you look at the top of middleweight, it's like Adesanya, Paulo, Yoel, who never uses his wrestling.
Him versus Yoel would be sick.
Yeah, or him versus Till again.
Yeah, because what's it called? Because him versus Izzy, it's like Israel Adesanya's 6'4" and Tyron's 5'9".
Yeah, he would just keep him on the outside.
Yeah. So.
But I still have a hard time picking between Adesanya and Costa.
I know. I'm thinking Izzy. I think my prediction is going to be Costa comes out swinging rounds 1 and 2. Izzy survives, moves around, stays outside, maybe gets pushed up against the fence a little bit, gets out, and then rounds 3, 4, and 5, he just pieces him up and takes it in a decision. Or maybe drops him 4th or 5th round. I don't think he'll put him away, but I think Izzy takes a decision.
Yeah, I to be safe, I'd put my money on Izzy, but I don't know. It could go either way.
And then Reyes versus Jan. I got
Reyes.
I got Dom. Yeah, for sure.
But I think Jan is underrated. He's kind of crept under the radar for a while, but he could pull it off. I didn't think he was going to sleep Corey like he did.
Yeah.
And he slept Corey pretty bad, and now he went to
Bellator.
He's in the best light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And then what else? There's
no other fights on that.
There's so many fights
on that card.
Yeah, but there's like so many cards coming up.
Yeah,
because we're 5 weeks in Fight Island.
Yeah, Marlon versus Corey.
That's a banger.
Yeah,
Corey is underrated as well.
I think Marlon takes it though.
Probably.
I think Marlon's striking is too legit.
Yeah, but I don't think he's a 5-round fighter. That's the problem. Is when he gets in those championship fights, I don't know if he can last the whole time.
Yeah, and Corey just got submitted in round 1. So how does he react to that? How does he come back from that?
But Aljo is so legit. He should be the champ.
I don't know. I think Jan takes it.
You think Jan beats Aljamain?
I do, yeah.
You're cracked, bro. There's no way. There's no way.
I don't think. Let me look at the top 5 real quick.
Oh, bantamweight?
Yeah.
That is either that or featherweight is the most stacked. Can't change my mind.
The top 5. I don't think anybody beats Jan in the top 5.
Who's in the top 5?
It's Marlon at 1, Aljo at 2, Cody at 3, Corey at 4, Frankie at 5.
Unpopular opinion, I think Cody would beat Peter.
I don't know. I don't think Cody beats Figueiredo.
I don't think so either at 25.
Yeah, he's a monster, Figueiredo. He is.
If he keeps sleeping dudes, he might save the flyweight division.
I don't know how much weight he cuts, but if he can move up to bantamweight and be big and strong, he is a problem.
Imagine if Henry came back for the flyweight title against Figueiredo. He won't.
I think Henry wins.
I think Henry beats basically everybody unless he goes to featherweight.
Which I still think him versus Volkanovski is a good fight.
I think it's a good fight, but I think Henry loses.
I don't know.
How tall is Volkanovski compared to Henry?
He is. Hold on.
Because I think that's what it comes down to. But I mean, Henry's also really good at getting into range. Like when he fought Cruz.
Volkanovski's 5'6".
So, and isn't Henry like 5'4"? I want to say. Just a little guy.
Yeah, so it's only 2 inch reach advantage.
Yeah.
Henry's wrestling is a lot more legit than Volkanovski's is.
But Volkanovski just went 2 fights with Max.
And lost both fights
to
Max.
Dude, no. I think he won both.
No, I think he lost both.
You think he lost?
Yes.
For sure he won the first.
No, for sure he won.
No way. He won the first for sure. And then the second one, it's like really hard, but I think he squeaked out the third, fourth.
I think the first one was more questionable than the second one.
Really?
Yeah. Like if I had to give it to, if I had to say, okay, Alex won one of them, I'd give him the second one.
You need to rewatch that fight.
I don't know.
But, I mean, the beginning of the second fight, Holloway was giving it to him. Kind of piecing him up a little bit, and I was like, now he's going to turn up his volume, and he's going to dominate him. But Volkanovski turned it around. But that's so crazy that he was a rugby player.
Yeah.
How long ago did he start training?
I think 7 years. Because he said he started training when he was 24, I think. Either 22 or 24, and he's 31.
That's so crazy that dudes like him, people like Angela Hill, she's been training for like 5 years, just did a main event. Like, that's the thing. I forgot who said it, but like in football and stuff like that, like you play your whole life.
That's what Marcos, the guy I had in my first episode of my podcast,
he was
saying. It's like somebody could start training, start fighting right now, right? And in 5 years, be the best in the world.
Yeah.
But like, I could start playing basketball tomorrow and never make it to the NBA. Like, that's exactly quote unquote what my boy Marcos was saying in my first podcast.
Yeah, that was when he said that. I was like, that's legit.
Yeah,
like it's really a one of a kind sport.
It is.
And in football and stuff, it's like if you miss your chance, that's it. You don't get another chance. Versus like fighting, like dudes have been fighting 13 years and then make it to the UFC.
And it's it's in everybody's sport. Like you can't look like Roy Nelson and play basketball.
Yeah.
Like you can't be 250 pounds and play basketball, or it'll be significantly harder. Like football or MMA, you could have any body style, and you don't have to be the most athletic guy. Being athletic helps, it improves wrestling and cardio and stuff like that. But there's guys that win that, look, Daniel Cormier, who's
one of the greats,
one of the best ever. I mean, look at his body. Like it's a sport where everybody can find something that they like.
Yeah, it's six packs don't win fights.
Yeah,
straight up. And that's how it is. And I mean, obviously, like when I watch fights with people who don't know anything about it, they're like, "Oh, that guy's gonna win. He's in way better shape."
Looking at Costa versus Izzy.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like stuff like that. Like I'll still go in comment sections and people be like, Izzy's just too small.
yeah.
I'm like, you're a fool. Like
yeah.
it
Like
Izzy,
he put out Brunson, who's mad, like a big
Brunson's
big
just
guy. Yeah.
dense and stacked, and literally just the way he knocked him out was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, cause he threw up the head kick, and then like right after it brought the hand over, and it was just perfect.
Yeah.
But I mean, I won't lie. When he came in, I doubted him every step of the way. I was like, all right, this is where he loses.
Mhm.
This is where he loses. All the way up till Rob, and then he beat Rob, and now I'm like, all right, I'll hop on the train.
Yeah.
But watch as I do that, now he loses.
I don't think so, though.
I think he beats him, but
I'm trying to see, who do we think? Hold on. Who do we think gets that title shot next?
after. Oh, it'll probably
Jared?
Well, Jared's gonna fight Rob.
Oh, so Jared and Rob, and then Jack and Darren are fighting.
So then it'll probably be the winner of Jared versus Rob get the title shot, and then the loser fights.
Yeah, fights Till versus Jack. But if Jack beats Till, does he fight somebody coming off a loss, or does he just wait for?
That's true, because he's kind of been on a tear. Well, not necessarily a tear, but he came back from because he's already fought Jared. Jared knocked him out.
Yeah, Jared knocked him out. I think Jared gets the shot. I think he deserves the shot. Now, I think he'll fight Whittaker. Yeah, I mean he is.
If he beats Whittaker, yeah, he should definitely get it. But it's hard. When that fight got talked about, I was like, please no. Like I love Whittaker so much that I'm scared of him getting.
Jared's a guy too who hasn't been training for that long either.
Yeah, his pictures from heavyweight to now middleweight are insane. And I look at that and then hear people be like, oh, it's just so hard for me to lose weight. I'm like, bro, look at this guy.
That's like, that dedication over motivation.
It's crazy. But then that's when I look at guys like Derek Lewis where I'm like, he could drop 20, 30 pounds and still be a great heavyweight.
Yeah.
But it just comes down to, like dudes like Kelvin Gastelum, I feel like he could still go back down to welterweight.
Yeah.
But
we don't know how they feel, It's
granted Frankie Edgar won the belt at lightweight.
Yeah,
and
at
now
55.
He's at bantamweight. Yeah.
He said that he would eat a full breakfast the day of weigh-ins.
Yeah.
And now he's on a tear at bantamweight.
Yeah.
I mean, ranked top 5, and he's getting up there in age, I think, too. He's been around forever, I feel like.
I think anyone in the top 5 beats him, though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It would be great if Frankie could win a belt and then peace out, but
yeah,
that's the stacked division. Pretty soon, Sugar Sean will be the champ anyway. So.
I think so, yeah. Within the next 3 years.
Dude, mad respect for him going to a local tournament.
Yeah, that was sick.
So many guys.
And took out a black and brown belt as a purple belt.
And the only dude he lost to, he only lost one, and it was to the Danaher brown belt.
Yeah.
If you lose to a Danaher brown belt.
As a purple belt?
Yeah, so what?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of fighters who I think would really benefit from just going out and doing tournaments like that. But
it keeps you sane with, because Sean, if you're listening to this and you listen to Sean's podcast like we do, Sean's taught us everything that we know about meditation, reading, everything. And he always says like after watching the Last Dance documentary with Michael Jordan, like if you have that obsession with competition, those guys get to compete 4 times a week. Like they have a basketball game 4 times a week. You might fight once a year. Like, you're most of the time you're not fighting more than 3-4 times a year. So it's like having those jiu-jitsu competitions or a wrestling match. It's like it kees those guys sane, and it gives you something to look forward to where you can compete.
Yeah. And I don't want to like put it this way necessarily, but I think some guys are just afraid of going out there and doing those competitions and possibly losing to somebody that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the guy that beat him, that Danaher brown belt, like that's a legit guy.
Yeah.
Like if you train under Danaher, like automatically you're going into that match going, odds aren't good.
Yeah.
Because Danaher is a wizard from another planet. But yeah, just like, and Gary Tonin shouted him out. He was like, shout out to our boy for taking first place and beating a MMA fighter in Sugar Sean. He was like, also shout out to Sugar Sean for going out there and doing that. But dudes like Gilbert, like he does them all the time.
Yeah.
And he's
John Jones did one a few years back.
Yeah. And when he was suspended, he didn't he do a wrestling match against like Dan Henderson?
Oh
Submission
yeah,
wrestling?
yeah. I think yeah.
But yeah, just stuff like that, like staying active, I think is so big.
Like Pettis and Masvidal had that.
Yeah, that was really cool to see.
They had a grappling match. It was like in a boxing ring too.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool to watch. Yeah, it's all about, that's why MMA, I think it's the biggest growing sport, is because, it's almost impossible to get burnt out, because if you're training wrestling, striking, and jiu-jitsu, and you're like, man, I need a few weeks off jiu-jitsu, you can just train wrestling or striking. Like, there's so many different aspects, so many different competitions, amateur boxing matches, wrestling matches, jiu-jitsu competitions, MMA fights, whatever, to apply to all people, all lives, all skill levels, everything. It's why it's the best sport in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just it just goes so deep. You'll never, and a big thing too is like everybody wants to be the baddest man ever. Like no one can fuck with me. Like I'm unbeatable. But there will always be somebody within this sport that can beat you.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like. Granted, if you put most dudes in there with Stipe, like he's gonna win.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like in the practice room, every fighter gets it handed to him, and that's just I think it's one of the best things about it. Like you'll never be
best thing about it,
like
yeah.
you can never stop learning.
Yeah.
And there's just so many people out there with so much knowledge about it, and it's never ending. Like jiu-jitsu never ends. Like
I mean, this is me personally. Like, this is my personal opinion. You could have a different opinion. You listening could have a different opinion. But I feel like in basketball or in football, like, eventually you hit that roof of how good you can get. Like at some point, like LeBron, like in his prime, or Jordan in his prime, we'll use Jordan. Like, if you put him in a 1v1 against anybody, like, he's winning that. Like, there's nobody in that practice room that beats him. But in MMA, with it always having that guy that beats you, or jiu-jitsu or whatever, like, that's always going to be room for improvement. Like, even if everybody was a black belt, there's always going to be a black belt that's better than you. And
well, people from the outside the sport are like, all black belts are the same. They're so not. Yeah. Like, there's different levels to each belt.
Yeah.
And especially like depends where you train. But that's like a huge thing about jiu-jitsu that I love, is like, you go into karate, and it's like it's so watered down from what it was. But jiu-jitsu doesn't lie. Like, if you're a purple belt that like barely trained and like just got it just because you showed up and you didn't really care, and you go against a purple belt
or a blue belt who takes it,
or even a belt under you, or like an Danaher blue belt, he will demolish you.
Yeah. So
it's one of those things where you can't like. It
Fake.
Just doesn't lie, yeah. And you can't forge clips online. Like, you can't, like, someone will spot the fake.
Yeah.
And be like, you're not what you say you are. Mm-hmm. So, and some people are worried about jiu-jitsu being watered down and all that, but it's just like, you can tell. And if you've trained and then you go somewhere and you realize that it's watered down, you can go somewhere else.
Well, karate got so watered down because it became a competitive, like, it became 2-point style. So instead of sinking a kick in, now it's just a tap, because that gets you the point. And that's why, like, the whole argument against, I think it was Chael talking about this, Chael Sonnen. I could be wrong though. Don't quote me on that. But he was saying, like, the reason you don't want jiu-jitsu in the Olympics, and the reason people are not trying to push that, is because, like, then it becomes all based on points.
I can't stand points.
If
I could do sub-only tournaments,
it's the best.
I 100% would, but they're so much harder to find.
Yeah, and it's like,
that's like the purest form of jiu-jitsu.
If it went to the Olympics, then it gets focused on, okay, how do it's more points instead of traditional like jiu-jitsu, and
then all the 10th planet guys would be fucked.
Yeah,
because they'd be like rubber guard and just lose a bunch. But yeah, that's a good point. It's very, it'll get watered down if it comes to that, because it just gets so wrestling heavy once points are involved. Where like me, like I love to play off my back. Like I'm definitely a guard player, and stuff like that. But when it comes to tournaments, then I'm like, well, now I kind of have to change up my whole game. Now I have to get the points and then go to my back, or just worry about points. And I really don't like that. I like
and in a
just
time
level one.
frame too.
Yeah.
Like that's what I don't like about it is it's like you could hold me in your guard for like you could be holding me in your guard threatening subs like for if the match is 4 minutes for 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and in that last 5 seconds I pass your guard and go to side control, and now I'm up 5-0 and
Yeah,
you lose.
it's
like
that's the kind of stuff where like people like barely squeak out wins
yeah
when they really didn't win. Like in that tournament where the guy sat in my guard, like so literally he tried to tripod sweep me, and so he goes to his back. I'm like whatever. But he's like super tall, so I was like, all right, I'll just straight ankle him. So I grab straight ankle, drop back. He gets out of it because it was a terrible straight ankle. And then I was like, whatever. So I just pulled him into my guard, and I went straight to triangle. He sat in my triangle for about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I couldn't finish it, which was because I sucked. And so I was like trying to finish it with the lapel, just trying to tighten it up. But the dude was pretty strong too. So he was literally sitting all the way up to where I was completely off the ground with my triangle on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't finish it. And then he tried to pass. I didn't let him. I pushed him off, and then we got back to standing, and I tried to take him down, and I couldn't. But he beat me by points, and I was like, that's so dumb because he literally sat in my triangle for almost 90% of the match. So stuff like that, I'm like, it's not very fun, but
yeah,
it is what it is. It'll make you a better grappler, if not just jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for sure.
So. But when we turn it up in the training room for tournaments and stuff, like when we do sharking, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Like I love just getting exhausted. Just
or being here
so
and we spar hard. We crack each other. We work, and that's what it takes to get to the top, which is my goal. You know, I don't know what your goals are specifically.
Dude, I just want to, like, obviously I would love to go as high as I can, but I just love the sport of jiu-jitsu and just MMA in general so much that I just want to be immersed in it. And obviously one day I want to own my own gym, and I love to teach people things and all that. But at the end of the day, I'm a student of the game. And
that's the mentality everybody has to take, being a student of the game.
Yeah, and that's the number one thing I think about too, is like when I walk in the training room, I'm like, all right, time to work and time to get smashed and just learn. But that's
what I think when I leave, is hopefully getting my ass beat will make me a little better every day.
Yeah, seriously.
Getting smashed by those higher belts. And it's such a good feeling too. Like people will look at getting smashed in the jiu-jitsu room like somebody who's just like visiting, and you see somebody laying on somebody the whole time, and like, yeah, it sucks in that moment, but like when you're done, you're like, that was awesome. Like I'm happy to be laid on and choked, because it's a feeling you don't understand unless you do it, and I recommend everybody does it. And
well, that's the thing, is when people see that, like see my stuff on social media, and they're like, oh, you're rolling around with dudes sweating on each other, that's gay. I'm like that's just such a, it's almost like I feel embarrassed for them almost, because it's like, whatever, man. I can walk into a room and not feel worried that someone can fuck me up.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel comfortable walking into places that most people don't, because I feel like I can handle myself. And just things like that. And I feel almost bad for people that never train jiu-jitsu. And I mean, like I've told my friends that I take to jiu-jitsu, like, if you try it and then you decide this isn't my thing, this isn't for me, 10 times more respect than if you never try it.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, you don't know until you do.
Yeah.
And most people, once they get on the mats, it's almost like a primal thing. It's in us to want to, not necessarily like fight, but it's in us to
It is. No,
Yeah.
it is in us to fight because, thousands of years ago, that's what we're doing. We're fighting for our food. We're fighting for our land. We're fighting for it's human nature to have that fight instinct. And people don't realize they have it. If you go to a jiu-jitsu school, I guarantee you 100% they're going to be the nicest people you've ever meet. Is there going to be a few guys who you're or they're a little bit douchey? Yeah, because that's everywhere you go. At work, you have those guys. At school, you have those guys. But at a jiu-jitsu school, hold on, I want to find something actually that I just saw was a quote, and I want to read it.
Yeah, while you're looking for that, a good point too is like people think that people see my stuff on social media and they're like, oh, he must be a prick. He must think he can beat everyone's ass. Like, it's the opposite of that. Jiu-jitsu makes everyone way more humble because then they know when they go in the training room, there's people that can just demolish them. It really puts into perspective like how vulnerable you really are. So it's just great.
All right, I got it. It says, so Tom DeBlas posted it and says, if you walk into a martial arts gym, you'll see police officers mixing with ex-criminals, the rich mixing with the poor, and all races working together to help one another get better regardless of class, social status, or religion. There are no false pretenses or judgment. There is only love, respect, and unity. The world would be a better place if it was like a martial arts gym. And it's true. It's everybody comes together. It's a community to where everybody pushes each other up. It's an individual sport with a whole community back behind you because everybody wants to see success in each other.
Yeah, granted, there's always going to be the bad apples here and there that are like, oh, I'm the best, I'm whatever, but
those guys get exposed and weeded out real quick.
Yeah, seriously, and it really, like, there's also the people that are kind of scared to try it for the first time, but once you go in there, like, most of the people aren't just going to sit there and smash you all day when you first start. They're going to be like, they're going to teach you, because when a new guy comes in, I see a training partner.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see someone that I'm like, oh, I got to weed this guy out of the gym because he's weak. Like Faraz talked about it with the injuries. He was like, I don't want to have anybody injured because in a couple of years, that guy or girl can be an amazing training partner.
Yeah. Or when I see somebody who's way better than me, who's a brown belt or a purple belt or a black belt, I don't fear them and don't want to go with them because it's embarrassing. It's not an embarrassing thing getting smashed by somebody way better than you. It's a learning experience. It's not a loss, it's a learn. And that's the mentality that you have to have going into a sport like jiu-jitsu or wrestling, boxing, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, seriously, any form of martial art, like, there's always going to be people that are just going to school you, which is my favorite thing. It's like, I've done so many things in life where I'm like, here's the ceiling, but in jiu-jitsu and all martial arts, there is no ceiling. It doesn't stop. You look at 10 years ago, it was like huge. Like 10 years ago to now, it's so much different. Like the sport of mixed martial arts. Like, we're doing things now that back then no one even thought about.
Yeah.
It's the fastest growing sport.
It is. Well, I think we're gonna.
Yeah, that was probably a pretty long pod.
That was sick though. That was
yeah,
awesome.
That was a lot of knowledge and stuff.
I'm gonna be having Preston on a lot. He's gonna be a reoccurring guest for sure. So hopefully within the next few weeks we'll get another one up. He's here training all the time, so I'm sure we'll get a pod up within the next two weeks maybe.
For sure.
Maybe we'll do 3 a month or something. I can start producing more content, getting more out. We'll have some more videos coming for you soon. He helps me with most of my videos with my breaking down the fighter series. So that was episode 5. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys took some knowledge from this. Hope you apply it to your own life. So that was it. Me and Preston are going to go get some grappling work in. So peace out.
See ya.